Moving on to question number 3. In the 2023 school year, as in years past, Melrose reported no Black teachers. This is a loss for all students and is especially harmful for our Black students. Research shows that when Black students have Black teachers, they are more likely to thrive academically and less likely to be suspended. What ideas do you have about recruiting and retaining Black teachers? Margaret, this one goes to you first.
Okay, thanks, Jay. So thank you for this important question. I agree that this is a very difficult situation, and our Black students would also, and I'd also argue that it's harmful for all students. So harmful for Black students and harmful for all students. We all need to see and hear and trust educators who look different from each other to build community and develop the relationships that result in better school attendance, watchfulness for student concerns before they become a problem, and more. It's just like the video we watch and the social places we visit, and sadly the obituaries we read. They have to reflect everyone in our collective experience to understand and appreciate that oftentimes we're very much alike, and we can come together and we can build trust together. Also noteworthy is that virtually all districts in the Commonwealth, unfortunately, face this challenge, even while the percentage of students and teachers of color are different. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has a goal of reaching 26% teachers of color by 2030. So we have a long way to go. In addition, I'd argue that we need to explore all the positions in the district. Every staff member in the Melrose Public Schools has a common purpose, which is to work hard every day so every student can achieve their greatest potential. So that commonality builds school community, and it includes cafeteria workers and crossing guards and bus drivers and maintenance workers and administrators and school secretaries and everybody else. But we need to see many faces of color and different kinds of people. We all come together to build an important fabric in our community. So things we could do, we can expect that search committees will engage in non-bias training as a matter of consistent practice, and we're embedding that in the superintendent search this year. Increasing efforts to recruit and retain paraprofessionals of color, a direct pipeline to the teacher role. They already know Melrose and our culture, and they believe in the power of public education, and they're supported by students, families, and staff. Increasing outreach to alums of color who are known to be in the teaching profession and encourage them to come back to Melrose. Identifying students through their guidance counselors who are considering studying teaching in college, and providing senior year internships, college internships, and more. Submitting grant applications like the state's 242 grant called the Massachusetts Public K-12 Educator Diversification Grant that supports this work. Advocating for more educator diversity grant funding from the state to continue the work. Continuing to support a shared DEI coordinator who can support these efforts, and purposefully building recruitment and training programs for non-teaching staff positions are all ideas to recruit and retain Black teachers and Black staff members, all part of our school family.
Thank you, Margaret. David, same question.
Thanks. So I tend to view this through two lenses. One is, what can we do to make Melrose an attractive school district for all teachers? And then what specifically can we do to attract and retain Black teachers? And I start with the all teachers because there's ultimately a base that needs to exist to be an employer of choice. And we have to remember that the folks in Wakefield and Stoneham and elsewhere are nice people too, and they're also looking to increase their diversity. And right now we're at a structural disadvantage. We pay our teachers $10,000 less than the state average in surrounding districts. We have a lack of trust between the administration and the teachers. And we just have examples of what I would just call petty mismanagement, where like the copy paper ran out middle of last year, and I'm informed by my kids that there's no toner in the middle school and the high school today. Those are not things that anybody wants to deal with on a daily basis. And if you have an opportunity to go somewhere else where you don't have to deal with those, you're probably going to go there. So we have to kind of solve some of those basics just foundationally. And I think secondly, there is some good news here in terms of just the state. I was looking at the numbers. In the last 5 years, the number of Black educators in Massachusetts increased by 37%, so about 2,000 teachers, which is pretty amazing, actually. White educators only increased by 4%. It was 4,000, just a higher number to start with. But the good news is that the size of the applicant pool is increasing substantially. And so in that environment, I asked, what is our recruitment process? And have we changed that from what we may have been doing a few years ago? I hire a number of people in my roles, and I'm always amazed when a recruiter tells me they posted it on a website and then they didn't get any applicants, and oh well, that's my problem. No, that's not my problem. Recruitment needs to change their tactics to attract more talent and the right kind of talent that we're looking for. And I guess in terms of retaining, the truth is I don't really know the answer here, and I'm okay with that because ultimately I want to learn from other districts. I want to learn from groups like they're hosting this forum tonight, from students, and really try to apply those learnings then to what we can do to make Melrose a better district for Black teachers and to retain as well. So thank you.
Thanks, David. Seamus, same question.
Sure, thanks, Jake. I think probably like everybody, I found it shocking to hear that we do not have any Black teachers. And I think ways to tackle this would be to recruit them. And I think one of the things we could do is form strategic relationships with local colleges to develop a pipeline of student teachers who could then become full-time teachers in our district. We can make this a priority in our superintendent search. We also need a dedicated HR department within the schools to accomplish something like this. We also need to pay our teachers more money. This is an expensive area to live, and if we're chronically underpaying our teachers, anyone that is looking to be recruited is probably going to go where they can make more money. And then I think we need to establish a better relationship with our teachers before we can truly recruit and retain a diverse workforce. If you Googled the city of Melrose teachers contract, I think people would think twice about coming here based on what we went through the last year. So I think we can start to rectify this by having a community conversation about our teachers contract, which is up in a short period of time. But this is something that is a challenge for all school districts. So I think the Melrose School Committee should endorse and advocate for changes at the state level. I know Senator Lewis has filed an Educator Diversity Act that would help diversify the teacher pipeline across the state and work with requiring inclusion plans and improve the tracking and analysis of data so we can see where people are. So I think that those are some steps that Melrose could take to increase and then retain Black teachers. Thank you.
Thanks, Seamus. Matt, we haven't heard from you in a while, so.
Do I get 4 minutes then? But thank you for this. I think it really identifies a key area of concern where we need to find ways to make it being less isolating in a classroom. And I think that's what's at the core of the question here. For students of color, it is less isolating when there are more teachers of color for them to see in the classroom and around schools. And I think it's also important, though, to mention that we're not only falling short on Black educators, but we're also falling short on teachers of other races as well. Our largest minority group in Melrose is Asian, followed closely by Hispanic students. And both of those groups are underrepresented in the teaching workforce. And nearly 20% of our students are actually multi-language learners as well. So we do have a lot of diversity. And I do want to raise up that we also have some great educators in the District of Color. And, particularly at the Roosevelt, we have a recent Latino Educator of the Year as our assistant principal. So we do have some great educators already, and we should expand on that. So, drilling a little bit deeper down on the importance of Black teachers, this certainly relates to the issue of discipline that was raised before. We need all of these types of pieces in place to make real progress on this issue, and particularly on discipline-related issues. And as others have mentioned, this is a statewide and national problem. In my work in the Senate, I've actually identified this we've always talked about this every year in our discussion around how to recruit educators as a major issue that every district across the Commonwealth is facing. And, it's important to note that districts like Everett and Boston, who have predominantly students of colors in their districts, also are falling short on these as well. So one answer is to develop the pipeline, something I've actively helped to do for the past number of years. I've been working in my current role to provide funding for a program called Journey into Education and Teaching. This is a program that works with paraprofessionals of color to help them obtain teaching degrees and certifications, and really builds them up to become a full licensed teacher in the future. And this is a very difficult process, of course, because it involves so much work to get to that teaching license. So on the school committee, I would certainly look to find programs like that to begin a real direct recruitment process into the district, and identify how Melrose could participate in more programs like that as well. I think we also, as some candidates have mentioned, really have to work on how attractive of a district it is to come and work here for anybody. With a competitive salary, we also have to show as a community strong support for meeting the needs of our teaching workforce, of the needs of our schools, and of our students to meet the goals that we have. Without showing that support as a community, without really investing in the basic elements of our schools, we're going to fall short on recruiting and retention. As everyone has said, you have to have a very strong district to attract attractive candidates.
Thanks, Matt.